I mean, I ain't saying nothing to you I wouldn't say to her.
Oh, I'm not.
You know, so that's why I don't care if you recorded it.
No, I believe you. I believe you.
You know, and you know, and I'm just saying, man, you know, I can understand that she's a writer. I can understand that she's on a certain spiritual vibe, and, you know, she sees herself as, you know, this energy and all of this stuff, right? Cool. I ain't hating on that, you know. And so when she meets somebody like Assata, I can understand how she connects with her spirit. Because Assata does have all that spirit, too. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I can understand how her, as a black woman, she connects with her, because she said she only met her twice in her life, and that was in Cuba when she went on some type of writers' conference. This is the context under which she met this woman. She was never underground with this woman. She never had to train this woman. She never had to go through any distress this woman go, but she's going to sit up here and talk about the big bad state, what are they afraid of? What the fuck is she talking about? So anyway, she says, well, when I first met Assata and talked with her, I was convinced that she was innocent. What, really? 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 I mean, Assata shot better than I, could shoot better than me. What are you talking about? Really? I mean, really, right? I mean, come on. You mean you convinced that if she didn't shoot good, she wouldn't be alive? If you meant that, I could hear that. Mm-hmm. If you meant like she was lucky to get out of this alive, and that the popo is dead instead of her, you understand? Then I could understand that. Because that means you understood the context in which she was pulled over on the New Jersey Turnpike. Mm-hmm. That you know that the bullets was going to fly when they pulled them over, because this is what it was about. And she was lucky to come up out there alive. Her comrade didn't, and the other one's in jail, and she was broke out by the black underground. How did she get to Cuba? On a vibe? And the dudes that broke her out is sitting in prison in New York and sitting in prison in California. The very dudes that broke them out, the political prisoners. What do you got to say about them?
Oh,
they was on a macho trip. They was on a macho. They were macho posturing.
Well, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, just to be fair, or maybe not even just to be fair, but to be honest in terms of me, like, I don't know that story. Like, a lot of us, you know, that story has not been written. That story has not been told. So, it may also be like me, that she doesn't even know who she should be advocating for, because she doesn't know that who she may know. Like, I don't know who these people are that you're talking about. I may know of them from something else, but I don't know of them associated with Assata's escape. So I wouldn't know to advocate on their behalf for that particular reason. You know what I'm saying? Did that make sense?
Say that again. Now these boys distracted.
Oh no, that's all right.
No. Say it again.
No, I was just saying that the story of Assata's escape is not known to most of us.
Of course, it's not known, because the brothers that pulled it off are in jail.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So my only point to that was that Alice Walker or even me and many others wouldn't know to advocate on their behalf for that particular reason.
But
that's
come on, man. They know that everybody knows that Assata Shakur's crime partner is Sundiata Kohli, and he's in jail.
Right.
You know, if you don't believe the beaver, go ask the fish. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You see, it ain't like nobody's around.
Right.
I mean, look, Assata, when the thing hit with Assata in the news joint, brother, let me tell you something. They had Angela Davis and what's her name? The lawyer down here, Jill Elijah, Sophia Elijah. Mm-hmm. They got them on the radio speaking for Assata. What Assata means. What the fuck they know about you? Angela don't know Assata from Adam's House Cat. Sophia only handled cases after she graduated from law school. I used to go to her house when she first became a lawyer and tell stories about the BLA. And her little boys were the age of my children now. Them motherfuckers is out of college. Now, what the fuck she know about this shit? She's the one that defended those brothers that were re-indicted and were tortured down in New Orleans, John Bowman and these other brothers Torres,
right?
You know, and took and got them to submit to the defense. To their defense, that the Black Liberation Army was a figment of the police's imagination, that the police created the BLA. This is what Jill Elijah said. And that's one of the reasons I'm writing this shit for the National Lawyers, because she's the one that's in charge of the workshop on the Black Liberation Movement. Ain't that a bitch?
Well, that's tough. Because I have to say I have nothing but love for her. I don't know the details like you do.
I ain't got nothing but love for Sophia too. I love the sister. But that's my. I don't get this twisted.
No. But I'm just saying what I mean. But
she's a good woman, and she has integrity, but she don't know what the fuck she's talking about. And what she did that shit, she's the one. She wrote the look, man. Sophia is the typical mentality I'm talking about the people that support the political prisoners. They think that what they're doing is correct. Mm. You see what I'm saying? When a brother comes up for the parole board, you understand, they do a letter writing campaign to the governor talking about how he has 3 degrees in prison and that his family are good Christians and they go to church and he has never seen his granddaughter before and blah, 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 blah. And they use that as the basis of petitioning the governor for a pardon or for them trying to get parole. Are you serious? You want to appeal his humanity to these inhumane motherfuckers who put him in jail for Jump Street? Really? That's the sum total of your commitment? That's the sum total of your campaign? The community needs them back? Really? I mean, come on, Jay.
No, I'm just saying
you know how absurd that sounds? Look, Sophia Elia wrote when Patterson was getting ready to leave office in New York when he was governor, right? He was the first black governor in New York. He was getting ready to leave governor. Leave the office. He was under scandal. Remember, they had a big scandal on the guy, you know, and so some activists get together, you know, Lumumba, and what's the name up there in New York, and Sophia Elijah, some folks from the NLGL get together, and they say, look, let's petition this guy. He's on his way out. Let's give him a letter and a whole package on the political prisoners, on Sekou and the PPs, you know, and maybe he'll do the right thing on the way out, right? Excellent idea. You know what I said? I said, that's a good idea. You understand? And then they start talking about, well, you know, we have to do it undercover. We have to do it through back channels, because if we do it up front, the PBA and the police unions are going to scream bloody murder. It's going to scare him. He ain't going to do nothing. That's the exact reason why you had to make it public. Okay, and that's what I said. I said, are you really serious? I said, first of all, what we need in New York is we need a contextual campaign. We need a campaign for police decentralization in New York. Okay, from all these activists that's talking about racial profiling and got all these statistics. What are they going to do about it? The police are all out in the open about with their illegal surveillance, with their racial profiling, all of this shit. And we don't have a movement to get on the ballot. Decentralization of the NYPD, we don't have no coalition to do that. So if we had that going on, when we talked to this guy getting ready to go out of office, he said, okay, I might be able to, you know, get a career after I leave here if I oppose the police union, because, you know, they under attack in my community. You see? There's no context. So they want to keep it quiet. I said, I don't think that's a good idea. So you know what Patterson does? Patterson on the last day says, look, I can't deal with this. I can't fuck with it. I'm not going to do it. And he leaves. And they don't have no way of saying publicly that this dude was ever given anything. And this is what he said. And this is what he did. And this is the information that's given. If they would have made that public, everything that they gave him, he would have been under some public scrutiny, at least by some people in the black community, to say, yeah, what are you going to do about this political prisoner?
And their argument for not going public was
that the police and his enemies in the state capitol, who were supporters of law enforcement, would jump all over this and say he's trying to release cop killers. Mm-hmm. That's it. Bottom line. Operative word here: cop killer. Mm-hmm. Can't we get that through our head that the operative dichotomy is cop killer? Huh? Can't we understand that these motherfuckers like Ice-T went from making songs about cop killers to playing cops full-time on TV? Can't we understand that this is a serious dichotomy in the police state, that you challenge the right of the police to kill your ass? That's what the stand your ground law is all about. That's why law enforcement supports it, supports this abolition. Because anybody could stand their ground against the police if they're using unreasonable force and you think your life is in danger. You could kill that motherfucker. And the cops ain't trying to hear no shit like that. So they support it. That's why Sharpton has got a national campaign. He's a police. Black folks have just as much right to stand their ground as white folks. Don't blame that shit on Zimmerman. Zimmerman's an asshole. Trayvon should have slit his motherfucking throat. He should have had a knife. He had a knife like most niggas do. When I was going, he was stabbed him to death. And we'd be having a trial about whether Trayvon had the right to self-defense. The niggas stopped carrying knives. Me, I still carry my shit. So what am I saying here? What was the first thing a cop did when they shot a young kid? They put a knife on him and said he had a knife and he thought he was going to stab it, right?
No,
isn't that right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's the old school. That was the old school plan.
Right.
You know, because they knew that blacks and Puerto Ricans carried knives. Now, if Zimmerman knew that shit, he wouldn't have snuck up on them like that. But you see, we done lost our roots. We done lost the tradition, you understand, of kicking a motherfucker's ass to fuck with us. We done lost that. We forgot about that. We on some reconciliation shit. You know, we're gonna reconcile with white supremacy. I guess that's what post-racial America's about. It's about reconciliation. But how's there reconciliation when we the only people in jail? And then when you make a proposal to somebody like Ben Jealous that the victims of the 60s, quote, that's their quote, that the victims of the 60s and on both sides should be reconciled. How could I reconcile? How are you going to reconcile yourself with the widows of Popo, you understand, who are getting money from the state? You understand? Every year they have ceremonies for them. You understand? Some of them are remarried. You understand? They're well off. How are you going to compare that to the people who were broken by them in their movement, who are living in hand-to-mouth? Some of them living in shelters. Some of the people that fought for your freedom right now are in insane asylums in prison. And when you go, well, how is this some reconciliation? Reconciliation is between equals. There's nothing equal here until you break the political power of these police, until you break their control over making policies, urban policies that affect our lives, that affect our children. That's the basis of the prison, the school to prison pipeline. Is the political power of the police. The police are in our schools in mass. They got holding cells in our schools. They have militarized the police in our community. I mean, ain't we clear about this? And all of this started when? When did all of this start? When these brothers stood up against it and they got crushed. That's when it started. That's when the consolidation started. And you're gonna talk about post 9/11. What about post 1971? What about post 1966? You know, we're gonna keep posting. I mean, 9/11 wouldn't have been the Patriot Act wouldn't have been possible if we would have stopped them in their tracks in 1968. It wouldn't have got over like that.
No, I really appreciate and feel the position you're coming from. I have to admit I was a little, but I think it's right. I just wanted to say that what I was getting at a bit ago was that it's uncomfortable for me. You know, I don't know them well, but I know Sophia Elijah, I know Lumumba Bandeli, and I have a tremendous respect for them. I love Lumumba. But I think
Lumumba and his wife.
Yeah,
you know I love them.
No, I know,
and I respect them. But what I'm saying is not personal.
No, I understand,
okay.
And all I was really trying to say is that it's also, I think that I'm reacting also to the fact that I also have participated and am complicit in some of the actions you're criticizing here. So I think it's important that what you were saying in the piece you're working on and what you've said in this discussion is, I think, an important, for me at least, an important criticism, an important, something to drag us out of some of this.
I think the reason why you haven't been able to hear this before is the same reason that I told you down in D.C. I don't get invited nowhere to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Especially by this new crop of actors. I mean, Sophia Elijah was the head of Harvard Law, was the head of a department in Harvard Law School. She never invited me once to come to that school and lecture on civil disobedience or whatever in the law.
Mm-hmm.
Never. She invited everybody else, but she would never, and this has to do with something fundamental and basic. And this is not just her, okay? She had that same, the same wherewithal. She had the same resources. She never set up any type of agency or student study group to get the students interested in doing political work in Boston around the PPs. She didn't do that. But they all love her because of her lectures, and all of them look up to her, and all these black sisters that matriculated through Harvard Law School hold her in high esteem. I remember when I criticized her on the internet about some dumb shit she said. Yeah, she had some wickety-whack young girls talking about, I don't know who this guy's supposed to be, but I'm staying with you, sister. Yeah.
Well, that part is certainly unfortunate. No, but I understand you, and that's why I just don't want to burn up your phone. I'd be calling you. I'd be calling you every week. No, I'm just saying I would be calling you every week. I think, and I meant what I said at the top of the actual interview, that I think that your approach and your analysis is essential. I think what you offer is essential, and it is definitely lacking. I agree with you on that you aren't heard nearly as much as you should be. But you do want. But at the same time, it is a shock and it is terrifying to a lot of people to hear that perspective live and in person and in clarity. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just saying.
I hear what you're saying. See, I don't have no patroni. I don't have no godfather or nobody that if I say I need a plane ticket to fly to New York, they give me a plane ticket, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's a whole lot of shit I would have crashed. I would have just showed up because I'm serious. I just got some of my homeboys up in Harlem or something, man, or out in Jersey and Newark, and just showed up. Like dinner's fun. Dinner with Angela. Really?
Mm-hmm.
I would have showed up at the dinner, man. I like shrimp scampi and shit. And so now Angela, what's up with this movie Free Angela and All Political Prisoners? Jay-Z and what? Really?
I never saw the film, but I heard that no other political prisoners were mentioned in the film.
Yeah, I know she ain't mentioned Michelle McGee neither. That was her co-defendant.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been on Pelican Bay ever since. You understand what I'm saying? And people don't know the history of Angela. So I'll say, Angela, come on, man. The first time I met you when you was with the Che Lumumba Club, man, and you was fronting for the George Jackson Defense Committee and shit. You understand? You was like clueless. She bought some couple of guns, man, wound up in the Marin shit, and the Marin shit is a whole deep story in and by itself with Jonathan. You understand? Of betrayal, of cowardice, of intrigue, of FBI setup, all of this shit. You understand? And so Angela, in her naivete, bought whatever she bought. She became a fugitive, and who did she go on the lam with? A undercover agent in the Communist Party USA, and gets betrayed. She gets busted. She go on trial. The Communist Party USA decides to make her a cause celebre and a symbol of white racism in America. So her afro becomes the iconic symbol of black liberation movement in America around the world. Now you got to remember, this is the Communist Party USA who takes their marching orders from Moscow, not Peking. So therefore, she has defense committees in Prague. She got defense committees in Poland. She got defense committees all in the Eastern Bloc, all in Vietnam. She got defense committees all throughout the Pacific. Wherever the Soviet Union has it, wherever there's a Communist Party USA, she's the symbol of the black liberation movement in America. She gets the support and money. And Charlie Mitchell, right now, sitting right up there in New York or wherever she's at, Charlie Mitchell was her babysitter. Okay, and the first thing they did when they came on trial, when they brought her back and extradited her, and she got on trial, they gave her a black lawyer, and she separated the case from Rochelle McGee, because Rochelle McGee was talking some runaway slave shit. Michelle was talking about how he went all the way back to the Barbary Treaty, the Treaty of the Barbary Coast with the United States government and the Barbary Federation, that said that blacks who were in the U.S. who wanted to escape from the U.S. or who wanted their freedom could achieve it under this treaty. There's a whole bunch of treaties about slavery and shit in America that we don't know nothing about. Michelle researched that shit. So he said he had a right to escape. So she wasn't going on trial with no crazy motherfucker talking about he had a right to escape. But, and that's a sensible decision, and that's a decision that anybody's lawyer would advise them to make in such a circumstance. You get a separate trial. And so I'm not faulting her for that. But the kicker is this, is that she goes to trial, she wins, okay? They send her on a world tour to thank everybody for supporting her, you understand? And then she comes home and the Communist Party establishes another front called the National Committee Against Racist and Political Repression. And she's the chairperson. And Charlene Mitchell is the treasurer or whatever. And the first case they work on is Ben Chavis, old Ben, in the Wilmington case, okay, and Joanne Little. And all the time, this is a Communist Party front, and this this committee won't support or won't defend or won't lend its support to one Black Liberation Army political prisoner or Black Panther Party political prisoner. They took no cases. This committee that she had. So when Chavis gets out of jail, he gets on the committee and he becomes the co-chair of this national committee. And Angela uses this as a platform to go around and around talking about political prisoners until George gets killed. Okay, in August of '71. You understand? Not '71.
Yeah, that was it. '71.
Yeah, August '71. Right. And the shit goes downhill from there. Now she's a major advocate. She's an authority on the political prisoners and imprisonment. Whenever there's a talks about mass incarceration now, who do they call? Angela and Michelle.
That's right.
And none of it. And Angela only vaguely talks about the prison movement that existed long before she discovered her new Jim Crow. Long before she discovered a new Jim Crow, collectors in Detroit in prison and in New York in prison wrote whole theses on how the prison system was a capitalist imagination and a continuation of slavery. Prisoners wrote this shit long before Michelle Alexander, before she got out of law school. Okay? And when you read Michelle's book, nowhere does she mention the fact that it was a prison movement that transformed the face of incarceration in America. I don't even think she mentions Attica. Okay? So what I'm trying to say here is that Angela and these people are the foremost authorities on this shit. Okay? She's the foremost authority on this shit. Okay? And people like myself, other folks, you understand, who were in prison, who were part of this shit, who saw what was going on in the jail, who helped shape the politics of these prisoners, nobody even consults with them. So when they talk about somebody like Assata, they forget that Assata got comrades that's alive. I heard one dude call me from Texas. This brother called me from Texas, said, they talking about Assata on this talk show, in the morning talk show. It's a very popular talk show in Houston. And they talking all kinds of crazy shit. They said, man, one sister said, well, she understands that the lady had to leave because they killed her lover or some old shit. I mean, you got all kinds of crazy shit. You understand? And he said that he knows the guy that has the anchors the show, and he told him that he called him up, behind the desk, under the desk while he was on the air, and said, look, man, if you want to have an intelligent a discussion about what this means, why don't you call her comrades? She has comrades that's alive. He said, really? For real? She said, yeah. She was like, who? And he gives her my name. He said, I never heard of him. He said, well, here's his phone number. Call him. He'll talk to you on the air. I just talked to him. He called me, right? The guy calls me. He says my name. He says, I said, yes. He says, I'm told that you know Assata Shakur. I said, yeah. I had acquaintance with her. Well, what's up? He says, well, I wanted to discuss her on your show, on my program. We're having a lively debate on this. I said, okay, cool. He says, well, look. I said, well, look, this is my cell phone, and it might go off at any minute. Why don't you call me back on my landline, right? And he hangs up. He never calls back. You see, but the debate continues. The discussion continues, and the discussion, and so that's the importance of why I said Assata, the nightmare after the dream, because Assata, people are just ignoring the fact that after King gave all this "I have a dream" stuff, he went to the mountaintop and he saw what was coming. You understand? And it came down on the Black Panther Party first. You see, and people act like Malcolm and the radical tradition had no influence, and y'all note this in your book when you're talking about Malcolm's reinvention of himself. Mm-hmm. You know that the radical tradition had an enormous influence on the civil rights movement in the 60s.
That's right.
And the organizations like the Lowndes County Panthers, like the Black Power movement, like SNCC's changeover from nonviolence to a more anti-imperialist struggle had an enormous impact on King and how he saw the direction of the civil rights. That's why he wound up with ordinary garbage men in Memphis.
That's right.
He had a class analysis whether you wanted to admit it or not. You see, and most black organizations back then did not have a class analysis. And the only one that did, they made sure that they destroyed it root and branch. And if you look at the history of the black nationalist movement, Karanga and all of the knuckleheads, and including Baraka, I talked about this to you, Amiri, at one of his at a ceremony on his anniversary, on one of his birthdays. I think he had turned 80 or 70 or whatever it was, 75 or something. And I got invited, and I was there. Now Mary's my man, and I'm honored to be, to have lived in at the time that one of the best essayists and writers and poets of the black poets of the 20th century was writing and was active. He's an icon, and I got enormous respect for him. But his politics was fucked up back in the day. You understand? His shit was fucked. He had no class analysis, and he said that. He said they believed that black faces in high places would make a change. And Gibson and them proved that shit was fucked up. That you had to have a class analysis of these niggas because you got black enemies of black people. And it's based on class. It ain't based on their melanin. They might use that as a front, but it's based on their values, their class values, and where they see their interests at. You see, and they didn't see no interest in black power. Not with all them Jews controlling real estate, not with all them corporations that wanted to move in, not with all them sports entities that wanted to set up stadiums and all of this shit. They was wheeling and dealing, and they said, man, fuck this nigga and that black power shit. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, we got all the votes. Yeah, we can control everything because we got the demographics. Urbanization in America gave us the demographics to take over these cities. Okay? And urbanization was not just something that affected black folks. Urbanization was a consequence of a war that affected the entire nation. You see, the entire United States went from a predominantly rural society to a predominantly urban society in the wake of World War II. And industrialization and how that heated up the economy, how the war industry heated up the economy till we know what happened, later on when it melted. But I'm just saying, we not dealing with none of this. We don't deal with none of this. We just write out. You're just going to write out an entire tradition, an entire radical wing of the movement. For what reason? For what purpose? So that you can get paid now, so that you can do a paper, so that you can sit up in front of students and be erudite and talk about the 60s and 70s and how we've come to pass, when in fact what you're saying is half-truth, is not really fully true, and by not revealing that, people are clueless about what to do about it now. They don't know what the fuck to do. People don't know what to do because they don't know the history of how it got done. Everything has a history. We ain't tied. We're not slaves to it. But goddamn, man, if we don't understand it, how the hell are we going to deal with where we at now? Mm-hmm. We don't have to be slaves to this, but we should know, and we should understand that the reason why that Patriot Act, look at the police today, man. They look just like the military in Afghanistan. There's no distinction. They lock down a whole city looking for one person. They call a woman with a baby in the back of her car rampaging through Washington. She was rampaging. She ain't shot nobody. But she was rampaging. But she was crazy. You see, everybody that challenges them is crazy. They got mental issues. You see, only a crazy person takes a gun and goes out and blows up the Boston Marathon. Takes a bomb and goes out. They got to be deranged. But what about the motherfucker that's guiding the drone that blows up a mosque full of people praying because they want to get Sheikh Boogaloo, who's in the mosque? Is he insane? This motherfucker that was weaned on Monster Mash videos, is he insane? Is he deranged? What happens when this is a transition from a video game to reality? To him, it's a video goddamn game. If that ain't crazy, I don't know what is. At least that crazy motherfucker with the bomb understood the nails he was putting in there was real and could cut real flesh. This motherfucker's got a joystick in his hand, directing the drone 20,000 miles away around the other side of the globe via satellite, killing the motherfucker on his way to prayer. Or killing somebody that he's told is the enemy of the state. He don't know this dude is an enemy of the state. But he's told that, and he's a high-value target, so he's got to go. You see? And when somebody like Snowden comes out and outs them, or somebody like this other kid, or Manning, comes out and outs them, you understand, they're hyper-traders. Come to find out, Snowden had a sensitivity they didn't understand. That's why we call him a Miss Snowden now. You understand? Miss Snowden couldn't deal with that macho bullshit that y'all was doing and be an instrument of it. That motherfucker's a hero. You know? He's a hero. And the piece of shit in the White House that's condemning him and prosecuting him, he ain't no motherfucking hero. He's a villain. And so I'm saying, man, this shit people don't want to get it. If Lyndon Baines Johnson was doing what this knucklehead was doing, everybody'd be up in fucking arms, man. And Lyndon Baines Johnson did do what he did. Nixon did worse. Look at the Omnibus Crime and Control Act. Look what that shit did. Look at the door that opened up. That opened up the Law Enforcement Assistance Act. You understand? That was the beginning of the militarization of police in America. Because Nixon realized they didn't have a national police force. You understand? So therefore, when he was running for office, to make this issue of crime, to translate it into a political policy, to translate it into a policy that corporations and the state could benefit from, he had to have a national police force, or at least had to have an ideology or the basis for a national police force, so that when the conditions came about to establish it, it could be done instantly. And that's how Homeland Security came up. You notice how quick that was erected? Yeah. Instantaneously. Because the foundation for it was laid in the Omnibus Crime and Control Act of 1969 or whatever the fuck that was. That was the beginning of what we got now. You know, and unfortunately, like I said in the article, the war on poverty preceded that. The first thing they gave niggas was candy before they bought the stick. That's where we got all the anti-poverty pimps. I was just writing a memo in Facebook, a comment in Facebook on a brother that showed the picture of Jesse Jackson with a big afro. I said, this is when I said, everybody had afros back then, anti-poverty pimps, everybody. I said, this afro, I said, Jesse had an afro like this with a big old medallion, you understand, when he sidetracked the conference for a black political party in Gary, Indiana, and kept black folks in the Democratic Party. He had an afro on.
And then went to the stadium shouting "Nation Time." Or is that?
Yeah.
But before we do wrap up, and I'm unfortunately going to have to here in a minute. I wanted to just get on the record, because my tendency, honestly, is to because like I want to take this conversation and just post it online. That is my tendency. I think these conversations should be aired out. I think there should be more public debate. But I just know. Well, but what I want to, but what happens in advance? I just want to say, what I want to ask you before to get on the record is your response, or because what often happens is somebody, and it's often people that I have a lot of respect for, that I seek even the counsel of, and they will tell me that when you air this kind of, it's airing dirty laundry, and you're putting this.
Air dirty? First of all, okay, I hear what you're saying.
This is inappropriate.
But there is no such thing as dirty laundry anymore. We just seen that NASA, that the National Security Agency wiretaps millions of conversations, even of prime ministers abroad. Okay, even of presidents of other countries. So what makes them think that a conversation that we have in closed doors is not going to be monitored by the national security state? That's a total false argument. You know why? Because what you say behind closed doors, anybody could misrepresent in public. Okay? And then when you expose these people and they admit that what you're saying is correct behind closed doors, they get out in public and they'll say, well, it wasn't quite like that. Okay? Bullshit. Everything should be out in the fucking open. You ain't got nothing to hide, nigga, then we talk about it in public. Fuck that shit. Okay? I don't believe in that no more. You understand? That's the refuge. Secrecy and backdoor meetings is the refuge of a scoundrel, of an opportunist. How many times did we sit down with Sharpton behind closed doors and try to get him to agree to work on a certain thing? Ask Alton Maddox about closed door meetings. All that's bullshit. So, I mean, then you should say that. You should say that that's my position. That with the surveillance and the intimate surveillance, and I mean, look, you see that book that just came out about how the civil rights movement was totally and utterly infiltrated by agents?
Yeah, I just bought it at your suggestion and started it the other day. That's
exactly.
It. Yeah.
What the fuck are they talking about?
Well, only
we're supposed to wait another 30 years to find out somebody we've been following around with an incorrect position was actually an agent, rather than challenging that position in public and letting motherfuckers fight it out. And then come to find out, oh, we see, you're an agent. Huh? I ain't going for that bullshit. It's total bullshit. That's my quote. You understand? Secrecy and backdoor shit is not about airing dirty laundry. It's a refuge of opportunists. It's the refuge of scoundrels. It's the refuge of traitors. They the ones that want to talk about stuff behind closed doors. We ain't talking about no strategy here. We ain't talking about no campaign that's going to be waged. It's going to be putting people in the street, and we need to spring it on the security apparatus. We ain't talking about nothing like that.
No, I was actually what I was saying more specifically was about particular reference to people that we like or that we care about or who are on our side. That's usually where I've gotten in some trouble. And it's not even like I'm the Huffington Post. Like that, my website doesn't get that much traffic or attention. But even in those,
but the reason why is because listen, just go ahead on and do it, man. If you can handle it, I can.
Oh no, I'm good. I just wanted, yeah.
I'm quite sure you're diplomatic enough. And I know you're erudite enough because I read your shit to get some bearings. So I know that you're erudite enough to frame it in a certain way that'll blunt that type of response, and they're gonna have to deal with the issue. You see what I'm saying? Because whatever they want to think about me, or whatever they want to say about me, you understand? I know what I'm talking about because I was there. You see, and so therefore, if they want to say, I mean, what position? I mean, if Sophia want to say, well, you know, we thought we all agreed that going to Patterson behind closed doors was a good idea, she's going to shift the weight on the collective. The collective made a mistake. Okay? Now, if you're not going to say, well, you know, maybe it was a tactical mistake to do that, and in retrospect we see so and so and so, then you're saying that what I said in the beginning was correct. You needed retrospect to find out it was correct. But you never came out and said publicly that what I'm saying is correct. So I'm the crazy person. You see? I'm the one going off. I appeared at an event in Hostros on the political repression and or something with Erica Huggins, who flew in, you know, and you know she's a monk, I mean a Buddhist, and all of this stuff, right? The place was packed, right? So we're talking about, you know, repression, and Erica is on this, you know, don't glamorize the party, you know, that what you do, you have to do for love and your sense of, you know, she goes on into this whole Buddhist rant about, you know, about tender love and all of this stuff and the torture that she went through, you know, and the transformation she went through, you know, because people kind of have the impression that when I'm on these panels, you understand that I ain't felt no pain and that my comrades dying in jail was just like ho-hum to me, you know. They don't know that that's the shit that drives me. That's why you see how I'm driven on this shit, and that's the shit that breaks my heart, you know. And so I'm sitting there listening to this. So one woman says, "So what do you suggest?" She says, "Well, you know, we fed children because of, you know, this, that, and the other." And then when they asked me, I said, "Look, let me explain something to you. You know, all of us that were in the Black Panther Party, you know, we had our issues. You know, we came from certain backgrounds, but all of us didn't. Many of us didn't join the Black Panther Party to feed babies, to feed kids breakfast. You know, I said, I, for one, didn't join the Black Panther Party to feed kids breakfast, but I understood after I got in the party why that program was necessary, because what we were about was about our people. So I understood. I ain't had no problem getting up in the morning feeding breakfast, but that's not why I joined the party. So they asked me, so why you joined the party? I said, I joined the party to put these crackers in check, to put police in check. That's why I joined the party. Okay? I joined the party because I grew up with the police kicking my ass, taking over our community, doing shit to us, and they had impunity. No one would put them in check. No one would deal with this shit. You understand? And I wasn't about getting poked by Popo all my life. You know, and if you read those documents, which I can send something to you, I didn't go into the details, but there's one long document, you know, and I'm going to end with this. There's one long document from B'nai B'rith, you know, the Jewish Anti-Defamation League, and it's a memo to the FBI about the split between SNCC and the Black Panther Party, right? And it's a long, long thing. And now it's put out as a public paper, right? But the FBI has it, and they're using it in their COINTELPRO shit, right? And one of the things it talks about is how the split happened. And what they focus in on is that the Black Panther Party represents a historical transition at this point, because the message of the Black Panther Party resonates in urban America amongst blacks and poor youth. It resonates, and if this message is allowed to blossom, to be focused into any type of national movement, said we got a problem here in America. And they says, and the reason why that is, and the reason why there's a split in SNCC is because the majority of members of SNCC were college students. They came out of the rural South. They were in college, and they were involved in the nonviolent movement, and they came from that area. And so they had this heightened sense of civil rights struggle and organizing in the community and stuff, whereas the majority of the Panthers, as Eldridge Cleaver pointed out, came from the streets and prison, the same place Malcolm came from. You see, and that when SNCC and the Panthers merged, Eldridge said the SNCC thought that this was just a bunch of ignorant niggas, you understand, running around posturing with guns, and in a few minutes we'd be able to take over the organization and control it, right? And they thought they could do this because the Panther Party at that particular time was at the height of its popularity, and SNCC's popularity was waning. You see, that's when they changed their name from nonviolent to national. You know, and because they didn't want to be associated with that whole trend. Why? Because of how the Panther message resonated. So anyway, what they were trying to point out, and what the FBI agreed with, was that they said that it's true that the membership of the Black Panther Party was more sophisticated than SNCC thought, okay? Because we wound up purging their ass, and Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, wound up siding with us, and they purged him from SNCC. You see, so their whole idea of taking over the Panther Party, when they saw it wouldn't gel, you understand, they decided to terminate the relationship. Okay, and so the government saw this as an indication that black folks, even young people, were moving away from the old style of protest and the old style of disobedience to a new level of urban guerrilla warfare and self-defense and community control of police in a whole different direction, and that direction had to be stopped. You see, and they stopped that direction. This is why you see that in New York City. And I don't want to belabor this, but this is why you see in New York City, despite all of the stuff that's coming out about the NYPD and racial profiling and surveilling Muslims and using the CIA, not one organization or group of people in the black community advocate decentralization of police. Isn't that strange? Nobody calls for breaking down the command and control structure of the police and putting it taking it out the hands of the mayor and putting it in the community's hands. Nobody talked about that. Nobody even mentions that as reform. None of the candidates that's running for mayor. Nobody. Isn't that strange? That's strange that nobody talks about community control of the same agencies that they're moaning about. Nobody. So the entire idea and the notion of challenging law enforcement on the political level at the ballot box was completely destroyed when they destroyed the party. It's not even in the debate. It's not even amongst the issues that people consider in town hall meetings. Nobody says this in a town hall meeting. And then when you say it and drop it in the town hall meeting, everybody's like, yeah, that's a great idea. Really? I mean, we got to reinvent the wheel here? But that's the reality, bro. People don't want to deal with this history.
No, well, I appreciate you sharing it, and I appreciate you letting me post at least some of it. Because I always think that these conversations that we sometimes have, more people should hear and be able to respond to. So.
Well, you in the media, there, man, do your thing, man. You could always reach out and call me.
Oh, I will. I mean, that's what I was saying. I mean, I just haven't wanted to burn up your phone. I will be calling all the time because I think I'd like to hear what you have to say. I'm pretty